consumer product companies. And that was lost. I think in American design culture, the last 25 years, the people who really dictated what a brand is and what it is to you and us, the consumer, was advertising. Sort of advertising took over that job of guiding and presenting what a brand is. And I'm hoping that design can claim some of that back from those advertising folks.
Well, I think part of what might be you can do, and I see this in your work, is that your work contains a narrative. It contains this sort of story aspect to it. It's not just a water bottle, but it has a kind of a lineage that goes beyond the sort of point of sale, that creates that. So can you talk about how you think about that narrative of a product in the design process?
Yeah, I mean, when I started in 99, I said design brings stories to life. And that sentence is actually, you can take every word and switch them. You can say stories brings design to life, or life brings stories to design. And, people don't just want to consume. They want to have a relationship. I mean, I grew up, my father is Turkish, he's from Istanbul. And if you go into the bazaar in Istanbul, and you just go to a shop and you say, how much is this? I buy it now. That's not the way the bazaar functions. You're supposed to sit down and have a conversation and have a dialogue and negotiate some, of course. But a lot of that negotiation isn't just about how good you are at negotiating a price. It's also about how good you are at connecting socially with the person that you're buying it from. And I think in many ways, consuming is about that today, because we have so much choice. What leads us towards one brand, one company versus another, I think, is their ability to treat you as a smart person, as a smart client, to treat you as a relationship more than purely in a transactional fashion.
A lot of your, as I mentioned sort of when I introduced you, a lot of your products kind of take something that's established or perhaps not established and sort of present it in a new light. So if, for instance, let's talk about the leaf lamp for Herman Miller.
Sure.
I think it was one of the first LED task lamps on the market. And, I think that you can move your finger across it and change the color of the light, and you can also change the brightness.
Right.
These are sort of things which even new LED lights don't really have. So where in the design process, was that something that Herman Miller came to you and said, we'd like to do this lamp where you can change the tone of the light? Or was that something that Fuse Project brought to the story?
Well, on that project, it's pretty much, we brought the whole technology side. We developed the hardware and the software. I mean, it took 4.5 years to develop that light. But some of the insights can come from anywhere. I mean, when I first talked about LEDs, people told me, I don't like LEDs. They're blue, they're cold, they're not the right light temperature. You can do two things as a designer. You can say, well, the quality of the light isn't good, so I'm not going to go with this new technology. Or you can explore for a while and try really hard at finding a way to bringing the light temperature in what I believe that then, and I believe now, and so do a lot of people, that LEDs is the future from an environmental standpoint, and now also from a light quality standpoint. So you can either sort of walk away from a problem, or you can go and do the hard work. And I believe design is actually hard work. And I believe that you have to go and solve some of these technical issues, some of these technical problems, and really, in this case, it was really about addressing them. So why did I want the light temperature to change? Because I realized we found a technical way to do it, and we got some patents about how we mix simply very yellow LEDs and very blue LEDs, and by mixing them together, we got to the right temperature. Once we discovered that, I said, why wouldn't everybody want to dim their lights, which is pretty much a given now, but also change the nature of the light, because a white wall looks completely different if it's lit by a yellowish, an amber light versus a cold light. So, yeah, we always try to invent some other very human way to connect people to those new technologies.
Speaking of technology, your office is located in the Bay Area. We have a close relationship to Silicon Valley. It's in South Park, which is an area sort of at the heart of the .com community. How do you feel as though what ends up being the sort of physical manifestation of your design, is that affected by technology as well, would you say?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I first moved to California, to the Bay Area in 92, 93, when the home computer was really being invented. I mean, computers were not made for the home. And I had an instinct, and I wasn't the only one, obviously, but that from a design standpoint, we were going to really invent new ways of communicating, new ways of working, new ways of living. So technology is always a very attractive, simply said, tool. I mean, an additional element we can use in our work. The problem with technology and the people driving technology is that they don't really see, they do it most often for technology's sake. And technology without, to me, a sort of a humanistic approach is just, it's just like a raw material that hasn't been shaped into a product. So, while things are better now, and thanks to Apple, it's been proven over and over and over again that technology can be a different experience. There's still a lot of convincing to do. Still a lot of relationships that need to be established with engineers or business people, where they realize that we can make, designers can make a real difference.
One thing also that may be a challenge and maybe is something that you can address is how, you can design the most beautiful laptop, but in 4 years it's going to be woefully out of date in terms of its technical capabilities. Yeah. So have you found ways as a designer to combat obsolescence?
That's
is it something that you come up against?
No, absolutely. I mean, in a way you either want to, and this is something I'm trying to make a cell phone out of paper, for example. It is clear, especially in Asia, that cell phones get discarded every 6 months to a year maximum. So why not make it out of paper and let it go faster rather than slower? And it's not to say that I think disposable products are a good idea. It's just the nature of the products themselves that probably should force us at looking at some of that. At the same time, I also think that we can find longevity out of the materials that we use. So on Whitewater, these bottles that you can shape into that kids can actually turn into Legos and build construction. I think reuse is also really interesting. So turning a consumer product like a water bottle or a beverage, a kid's beverage, into a construction game, I think is sort of thinking about reuse is also critical. There's some display of reuse cabanas or houses, for example, there. And so in a way, I don't think there's only one solution. I think we have to find a lot of different solutions to address notions of sustainability, low energy consumption, and disposability, I guess. And,
what would every year there's this sort of cycle of design in the design world. You go to Milan in the spring, there's got to be a sort of raft of